Exam Jitters by Crossing Class 2 of the Lunaverse. Episode 4. It was Stinky gets rain on. Dizzy pressed her head against the wall, right to brain for Dinky's location. Her daughter had told her where she was going to be and who she'd be with, and she had to remember quickly. Every second she delayed was another second was Stinky was caught on the rain. Woke up, eat breakfast. Dinky was saying what her plans were. Where are they? It was so bad that I barely heard what her first time. Dizzy and focusing on wolfing down her meal. She paid as much attention to her daughter as she could, but it was still all a blur. She thought as hard as she could, but all she could remember was how good the orange juice and strawberries tasted. Where was he go? Who was he being with? But she found no answer to those questions. Dinky was friends with almost every foal in town. She could have gone looking for bugs with snips and snails in any one of a dozen wooded areas, or she could be playing on the apples farm with Apple Bloom, or getting covered in chocolate with twists, or even helping Diamond Tiara Silverspoon pick new dresses at Reggie's boutique. She could be anywhere, with any pony. Dizzy raced to her closet and grabbed 2 sets of rain gear. One for her, one for her muffin. Barely pausing to lock her door, she bolted down the stairs and dashed into the streets of Ponyville. Thunder boomed overhead, but she didn't let that stop her. She had to find her daughter. Biscuit's parents had showed up to take Pip home at about 6, but that was okay with Dinky. Scootaloo and Sleepybell had begun playing marbles, Scootaloo having hurried to a toy store right after school to buy more, and Dinky had helped referee as they battled it out. It was a long battle, with plenty of rules and decisions that had to be made, ranging from whether it was okay to bounce your suitor before he hit a marble, to whether it counted if you banked a marble off the referee's muzzle. Dinky rather physically ruled no to that last one. Heavy Roller had arrived at 6:30 to take his Scootaloo home. The Pegasus' protest was she just about to win it all back her marbles notwithstanding. That left Sweetie and Dinky. They had chased each other around and talked about the other foals in class. Sleepybell had eagerly chatted about Truffle Shuffle, Schoolyard Crush, and Silver Spoon. How the latter man was beginning to string him along to try to get some presents out of him. Now Twist working hard to come up with a candy so good her mother wouldn't be in need to try and improve it. About Skittlers adventures at some kind of rock climbing camp that had an ex-Wonderbolt as a scoutmaster. Dinky had more fun teasing Sweetie around and gossiping, but both activities were fun enough, and Sweetie seemed to like having another pony listening to her. School doesn't care about that stuff, she said. Granny's too busy in her shop, but you're a really good listener. So they spent another half hour of fun. Shortly before 7, Rarity had arrived, apologizing for her tardiness and telling Sleepybell that they had to hurry home and get washed up, because, in her continuing efforts to culture her sister, they had to be attending a small classical recital that night at Filthy Rich's house. Sleepybell's offer to attend one of Final Scratch's concerts instead was rejected, and the white-coated filly began to leave with her sister. Are you sure you don't want to come back to town, dear? Rarity asked her. I only ask because it's supposed to start raining in a few minutes. She nodded up at the sky. The weather patrol's been preparing the storm all day. Dinky thought for a moment. Yes, Mama, to pick me up here, she said at last. I'll be worried you'll get wet. Dinky shook her head. Honestly, you'll be here before the rain comes, she grinned. I feel really like splashing in bottles, so music and faces is such a rain. They splash on in here. Oh, says Sleepybell. Wait, can we do that? No, of course not. And, Mary got herself. I mean, no disrespect to you, Dinky. If you and your mother enjoy that kind of thing, but this city bear and I get messy, it'll take too long getting up before the concert, and it would be a terrible faux pas to arrive late. So the two white unicorns left, and Dinky sat by a big rock and looked at the flowers. She knew her mother liked daisies best, and hoped that there would be some in the area. They all seemed to be dandelions, some flowers, and a few buffalo boar. But that wasn't a big deal. Dinky had saved a few bits up and decided that, next time she was alone in town, she'd go to a flower store and buy half a dozen daisies for dinner. That would make her mama happy. And of course, she had the very best mother in the world, so it was good that she'd be as happy as possible. Besides, Dinky liked daisies too, so she had especially listen staring that night, and her thoughts were interrupted by a few peals of thunder. Dinky looked up in confusion. And then it began to rain. Please open the door! Dizzy called as she knocked frantically. There was no response from within the house, though a peal of thunder sounded overhead. Then she looked up and immediately regretted it as she got a face full of rain. Water was pouring down, filling the small depressions in the ground and turning the lawn around her to a muddy mess. Dizzy's toes were already soaked, but none of that mattered. She had to find her daughter. She knocked 3 more times, kicking the door as hard as she could. Trixie! Trixie, open up! This is important! There was no response from the residency. Is he out of town now? Was he already looking at her thinking, so she didn't have any ditch around? I don't have time. One final futile knock. Dizzy turned and began to run further through the residential district. She ached to fly, but knew it was a bad idea. She risked crashing into things when she flew normally. Between the dim lighting and her haste, she more likely put somebody in the hospital, possibly herself, to find her daughter. She took off all in town. Tartar's farm is far away. Trixie's not answering. Lyra's over in the market district. Raindrops! Her house is nearby. He might be able to help. Snails might know where Dinky is. Dizzy splashed to a large puddle. She raced towards the large structure to house her friend, her parents, and her sister. Please be around. The door opened at a third knock, with Snails poking his head outside. Hi, mister, he almost yelled. What's going on? Snails, do you know where Dinky is? This is very important. Dizzy tried to peer past him into the dark house. See with you? No. Snips and I went right to the creek after school to look after bugs. We didn't see her. Is your sister at home? Snails shook his head. It's a rainstorm. She'll be out dancing in the water somewhere. Wait, no. She went with a bunch of the other elements to one of the farmer union's farms. Snails nodded. They were going to get you, but Trixie said you were real slippy, so they didn't. Rats, so I can't find her either. You have any idea at all where Dinky might be? Snails tilted his head up for a long moment. She was playing with Twist at school or recess, he said. Maybe with them. Do you know where they are? There a long pause. Twist said she'd be helping her sister with the candy store today. Snails dropped his voice and loudly whispered. I think she wants to try Bonbon's new candy before the rest of us get some. Dinky Snails, mine! Dizzy was already running back out into the streets. Dinky ducked under a tree, but it was little use. The leaves were soon soaked through, and the water began spouting off her head. In moments, he was totally stoked. Woo! She called to the sky. I'm so down here! Stop it! But the sky didn't hear her. It was continuing to rain, the water running in rivers through her coat before reaching the ground. Further cries proved similarly useless. Dinky hunched up as best he could, wondering what had happened to her mother. Maybe she had been more tired than she thought. Maybe Corona and another monster had popped up and forced her to go off to save the world. There might be even another full of trouble that Dizzy had been asked to help rescue. Maybe Snails had finally gotten that mail order Ursa baby or something. That made sense, though it didn't make Dinky any drier. In the meantime, the foal had to figure out what to do. Truth be told, she didn't mind the rain, as he enjoyed splashing in big puddles and getting totally soaked. Made the inevitable shower or bubble bath a lot nicer. However, rain was nicest when she knew she could always run home and get dry after being just physically rained on. It was a lot less pleasant when she was at the edge of town, unstill ready to stay or leave, many minutes away from anything resembling a roof or umbrella. She picked up a hoof and set it down again. As she stayed, she became wetter and colder. It didn't sound like much fun. But as she left, her mama wouldn't know where to look for her. Once she came to the spot, didn't find Dinky and thought something had happened to her. Dinky would rather eat Bonbon's mother's asparagus-flavored candy bars than scare her mama. Maybe, she concluded, she should just wait. But her mama wouldn't want Dinky to be soaked and unhappy either. She wanted Dinky to be warm and dry, not at home in some other safe place. But if Dinky left, her mother wouldn't find her. She might search all night for her daughter, getting soaked and unhappy with herself. What was Dinky to do? Stuck in a quandary, Dinky looked back at the road, hopes of seeing her mother. There was no sign of her. She frowned to herself. I'm not having any way of telling Mama where to find me. It's looking nervous. As she thought, her gaze fell along the dark path. Few ponies came to this part of Ponyville. It was past 3 Apple Acres, and there was nothing there but the hoofball court and some gently rolling hills. As such, the path wasn't paved. It wasn't even covered in cobblestones. It was dirt when dry, mud when wet. If doing that, I probably need to be husband, Dinky thought. She smiled to herself, then ran into the path and hopped into the center. In moments, there was a huge muddy pit in the center. Dinky paused, letting the rain wash over her, and cleaned some of the spattered mud off. We're making another big hop. She friends further down the path, made another running home.
Mama doesn't need to follow the pits. So funny.
Dickie grinned.
Plus, I need to make really big splices.
Teared up, Dickie continued hopping back into town.
Oh no, Dickie didn't go home with me.
Twist's face was covered with chocolate. Taffy was stuck all over Remain.
I've been here all afternoon working on making candy.
She offered Dickie a candy cane.
Want to try one?
Dizzy shook her head. Not having the band one to politely decline.
Bon, she called. Are you near?
A few moments later, the candy mare trotted up to the front door.
Hey, Dizzy, what's up? Dickie's car on rain. I know where she is.
Dizzy's teeth were beginning to chatter from the rain. It was spring, but the rain had been stored in a cold silo, so it was rather cold.
I'm trying to find her.
I'll get my raincoat. I can help.
Where's Lyra?
The other elements went with Carrot Top with some of the farmers' unions thing. I think they need to monitor one of the irrigation systems to make sure it doesn't back up the rain. Dizzy could have groaned. Every farm in Plainfield except Sweet Apple Acres was part of the union. The other elements could have gone almost anywhere by this point.
I would have gone, but I've had to mind the shop.
Bonbon was sucking her raincoat.
But if Dickie's missing, you don't know who she's with or where she is,
Twist smiled.
Oh, I know who Dickie was with.
Dizzy stared for a moment.
Why didn't you tell me?
She asked.
You didn't ask,
Said Twist, in a complete innocence.
You asked if she was here if he wasn't.
Bonbon, fortunately, said for Dizzy. All right, who's she with, Twist?
School says she and Dickie and Sweetie and Pipsqueak were going to play ball together at the school,
Twist nodded.
I wanted to, but I wanted to assist this candy and
Bonbon hugged Twist.
I'll help you find her, Titsy.
Dizzy tried to think of the right thing to do. It was hard. Her mind was full of instances of Dickie being swept out to sea, even though she knew there was no ocean within any reasonable distance of Plainfield.
Bon,
She said at last.
I hate to ask you this, but could you wait in my place for a while? Dickie comes home, I'm out looking for her. I don't want her to be left out.
She wanted a companion to go with her, but she also couldn't help but think of Dickie wandering around the darkened streets of Ponyville, left out of her own house, with nowhere to go, no shelter from the pouring rain.
Don't be stupid. Ponies would take her in. She could knock on any door and get shelter. But when ponies are home like Trixie, well, you'll hear what.
Baba cut off her thoughts. No problem. I think Lyra still has those communicators Trixie made for the gala. As long as you stay within the town limits, they should work fine. If Dickie shows up, I'll contact you.
Thank you.
Dizzy felt weak.
I need to go find Skilla.
Baba rooted around her door until she found the communicator crystals. She passed one to Dizzy. Go, and let me know if you need anything else. Dizzy was already running into the night. Splash! Dickie grinned as he beat her personal record, causing water to spray up and touch the very tip of her horn. At this rate, she could easily be the best splasher in Equestria. If they ever had a contest, she served to win first prize. The path led her through the apples' back gate into the orchard. The leaves on the tree provided some protection from the rain, but not enough to keep Dickie from getting any wetter than she already was. Then again, the foal was assured that was possible at this point. She was thoroughly soaked. It occurred to her, briefly, that Pinkie Pie had once warned her that she shouldn't get too wet, because she was an incredibly sweet foal. The sweetness meant sugar, and sugar dissolved in the rain. But then Dinky didn't think she was dissolving it, so that probably wasn't an issue. Besides, even if she dissolved, she knew her mama could fix her. Mama could fix anything.
We're simply liquid dissolving,
She decided.
means popping. Skilla was told me that you guys can make bad boys pop.
She started. It sounded a little painful to go pop, but her mama could probably fix it anyway. She slipped as she hopped and went sweating down, getting a face full of mud as she immediately began to cough out. Sticking her head, she tried to rub off some of the excess mud, but her hose were so muddy that it was futile.
Stupid mud.
She managed. The mud did not answer. Dickie wondered what her friends would do in this situation. Most of them would probably be splashing around in it, just like her. A few, like Diamond Tiara, was give her to cover as soon as they could. Diamond Tiara, Dickie knew, and once Ingrid complained that rain was bad, and they should get rid of it because it messed up her mane and tail. Evelyn tried to explain that rain was needed for crops, that Diamond Tiara had just said that Ponyville could buy crops, but places that didn't have ponies as important as her. Shirley had been forced to intervene before the foals began fighting over Ponyville's import-export priorities. But none of them were with her, so she couldn't ask them for advice.
I'm complimenting
she thought. It was hard sometimes to know what the right thing was. Miss Shirley said it was okay because she was still a fault, and for the most part, Dinky agreed. But it was tough now, because doing the wrong thing might make her mom scared or upset. Dinky wanted to do that. Dinky rounded an apple tree. Miss Applejack's home came into view. The folk grinned and ate towards it as he hopped along. She knew Miss Applejack had been mean to Dame Carrot once, but Carrot Top had said it was a one-time thing, and Miss Applejack was a really good pony. Cared a lot about for the ponies of town. Besides, Applebloom had nothing but good things to say about her sister. Certainly take Dinky in. Smiling face, Dinky shook off a little more mud and continued on. Susie be inside. Dizzy would wait for her mother. Everything was going to be all right. Scootaloo had told Ditsy where she had been playing with Dinky. Ditsy raced off immediately thereafter, without any pausing to say goodbye. She charged towards the edge of town. Then, as the buildings fell away behind her, she soared in the air. Come on, she thought. Her wings went as hard as they could. Why did I never train to fly faster? I should have been practicing. Dinky was scared, crying, stuck in a sinkhole, or anything. Mine was right with worry. Dinky flew as rapidly as she could. She almost clipped the ground a few times, but she was past carrying. All that mattered was finding her muffin. I'd been out on the line for so long, probably wondering where her mother was and why she was so late. All the other things she had every right to wonder. Please, Dinky, hold on a little longer. I'm coming. Only at long last, the hoofball field came into view. Dinky started towards it, eyes scanning as quickly as she could. Hard to focus both eyes in one direction. As she managed to look over the entire length of the field, no inch was left to examine. Dinky was not there. Feeling like her heart was doing cartwheels in her chest, Dinky dropped to the ground in exhaustion. She was terrified, yet she couldn't move. She didn't know what to do next. Get ponies to help her in town? Maybe she should have done that already. Maybe Dinky would have been found by now, so she tried harder, or get helpers. But she delayed to do that. Dinky might have wandered even further away. Or she could continue off at a distance, leaving Ponyville examining the fields and hills to the north. Dinky could be in a tiny cave, scared, terrified, maybe dealing with a main animal like a snake. Or she could go back towards town. Dinky might have sought shelter in an apple orchard, or Dizzy's eyes fell upon the muddy hoof prints. He had almost, but not quite, been watched the rain. One in the path right before her, then went back to town. Saw a third, fourth. They were heading towards the Applejack's farm. That path was probably hard before the rain. These hoofprints had to be left at their side. They must be Dinky! Dizzy raced along the path, following the hoofprints towards, then into Sweet Apple Acres. For a few terrifying moments she lost track, but she caught a small tuft of fern that had been snagged on a tree, and was able to find it again. She wound through the trees, calling Dinky's name frantically. She wanted to run around every tree to check for her daughter, forcing herself to keep following the trail. The hoofprints would keep getting deeper, less washed out. She was closing in. She could make it a little further. There, they stopped at Applejack's front door. She was in that instant and began hammering at it. The door opened. Applejack took one look at her and nodded her head. Please leave the living room, May began. Dizzy blasted right past her, into the room Applejack was pointing at. Applebloom was there, sitting in front of a roaring fireplace and toasting marshmallows. There, right next to Applebloom, wrapped in a full towel and holding a stack of marshmallows of her own, was her daughter. Dinky! She gasped. Dinky turned and brightened immediately. Mama! Dizzy felt herself hurriedly forwards. She seized her daughter in a massive hug. She knew she was getting her full wet and money again, but she didn't care. She wrapped her legs around Dinky and fell on her back, hugging her daughter so close that nothing could ever separate them. Dinky, for her part, didn't seem to mind the mud. She just nuzzled into her mother and hugged her back. I'm so sorry, gasped Dizzy. It was, said Dinky. I had a lot of fun. Miss Applejack was really nice to me. She said I could stay over until the mean stuff, and you stay over I get going on then. Mrs. McIntosh waited down and found you. Dizzy hugged Dinky even closer, cutting out the words. I'm so sorry, she repeated. I love you so much, but Mama, so cool. Dinky mans. You sure? Dizzy released Dinky so the mare could crawl up and look to her eyes. Dinky nodded. No, I can give you a hug. Dizzy smiled and obeyed.